Hello and a very warm welcome to the STUDIOCANAL Presents podcast. My name is Simon Brew from Film Stories magazine, and this is a regular podcast celebrating one of the biggest and deepest film libraries in the world. STUDIOCANAL's extensive library of over 6,000 films brings together cinema from around the globe, from the chilling The Wicker Man and the unforgettable thriller The Vanishing, through to the joyous The Producers and the swashbuckling genre favourite Highlander. We're going to be doing our best to explore it all in this podcast. For this episode, we're going to be talking about creature features, and I'm thrilled to be joined by director Kiah Roache-Turner. His new film, Sting, very much is a creature feature, and it arrives in cinemas on the 31st of May 2024. We're going to be talking about that, as well as some of his creature favourites. Before we get there, though, here's a snippet of the trailer for Sting. What the?
Could a spider grow in a couple of hours?
There is noise. So, a big hello to director Kiah Roache-Turner, who's joining us for this episode of STUDIOCANAL. We are on completely different sides of the planet as well, Kiah. How are you? Good evening?
It is evening, yeah. It's 6:30 over here, 6:30 p.m. I just finished a day of pre-production on my World War II giant shark movie. So I'm working my way through giant spiders, giant sharks. I'm doing all the giant things, you know?
Right. We're going to come back to that, I'm sure. Your love of creatures of which you're pathologically scared, it might just be a recurring theme.
Yes,
I think
it's true.
We start each episode just by getting a little bit of a fact about our guest. And I mean, I'm just curious, what was the first film you saw? What was the one that really just got you into cinema in the first place?
In the first film I remember seeing was I think one of the Fievel animated things, Fievel Goes West or something, or maybe it was American Tail.
It was the second one.
What was the first one?
The first one that had the song Somewhere Out. It's Somewhere Out. I'm not going to sing it to you. Yeah, American Tail, and then it was Fievel Goes West.
Yeah, it was American Tail. So I remember watching that in a tiny little cinema in Sussex Inlet, off the coast of Australia on a holiday sometime, and that was a huge memory for me. I was just wow, I really, really love this experience. It was like going to church, I couldn't believe how exciting it was.
So I just love the fact that you sat in a cinema watching an American Tail,
yeah,
and years later it led you to a career where you're directing zombies and giant spider and a giant shark. I think that's terrific.
Well, I seem to recall, in those old animated films, there's always a bit of darkness. They're always chased by a dog or menaced by a rat or something. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that stuff stays with you. And because I was a very anxious little kid, people think that horror film directors are, tough or, mean or something. It's we're the scaredy cats that needed to sleep with a nightlight on, So you take all of that stuff and you put your anxiety into your films,
So, Kiah, I have to ask you about your new film, Sting, where a spider appears to be on the rampage just to personally scare you. Tell us what Sting is. Tell us about Sting.
Basically, it opens very much like John Carpenter's The Thing, where you've got little meteor coming out of space and making its way towards a very scared-looking Earth. It comes through the atmosphere, it punches through a window, and it lands in sort of a apartment building in New York. And a little girl named Charlotte comes in and finds this meteor and sees that a tiny little spider has crawled out of it, and she takes this spider and raises it as a pet in her own apartment, which is the stupidest thing to do in the world, but she does it because she likes spiders. And then her pet gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's growing to the size of a tarantula. And then it escapes, and it continues to grow bigger and bigger, and then cats start going missing in the building, and dogs start going missing in the building, and then people start going missing in the building, and they realize that something very, very bad is happening down in the basement with something that may be a very, very giant alien spider. That's pretty much the synopsis, I think.
So we're exploring creature features, and I love the fact I'm talking about creature features with someone who's just made one creature feature and is just off to make another one.
Yeah.
It's a simple question, but what are creature features? You know, how long have they been with us? Why do we love them so much?
Yeah, creature features have pretty much been around since people invented the camera. You know, like you go back to like them, ! Giant ants stomping around. And I think there's even a giant spider one back there. I can't remember what that one was called, but yeah, there's like a giant tarantula running around killing people. Like, it's a huge subgenre in cinema. You know, you got westerns, romances, musicals. Creature features is arguably as big as any of those. I think it comes from the fact that for probably hundreds of thousands of years, human beings or any organic thing that exists on this planet dies screaming, being eaten from behind. Like, that's just a fact. We're lucky now. We don't really get that a lot these days. It's pretty weird to go, Brian was eaten, but most of us died that way, and I think it's ingrained in here. So the idea of something big with teeth coming at you from the shadows is something we had to deal with a lot. That's why we slept in caves. And so I think there's a primal need to face those fears, and a safe way to do that is in cinema, you know, so...
The creature feature growing up that really got me was Cat's Eye.
Remind me what Cat's Eye was.
Cat's Eye is a trilogy of stories based on Stephen King's work. I think it's Lewis Gilbert, directed it. One of the three stories, the last one, is the creature feature, which stars Drew Barrymore. There's a little creature in her sideboard, and every time she goes to sleep, this little creature burrows out of her sideboard, which I watched horribly underage, and is really ingrained in my head. I think a lot of us watched a creature feature underage. But was there one that kind of got into your head?
I mean, a bunch of them. One that really got to me was Salem's Lot, another Stephen King one, because I remember, I think I watched that when I was about 8, and it was the little vampire boy floating out of the darkness, out of the shadows and out of the smoke, and scraping his fingernail against the window pane of his friend's house, and his friend's kind of getting up out of bed, and you know he's hypnotized, and you're just like, don't go to the window, and he goes to open the window, you know, you're just like, oh my God. That image, I think, really, really stayed with me. I think Tobe Hooper really directed the hell out of that film.
You talked about Hooper there, but I mean, lots of us watch creature features. You've gone on to make them. I mean, who were the people who were inspiring you, and when did you decide, you know what, I quite fancy a go at that? You know,
American Werewolf in London, probably one of the best creature features ever made, and like just all practical effects, and the tone of it, funny, scary. I really like that tone. Alien, obviously, is kind of the Rosetta Stone for the creature feature. Like, nobody has done ever a creature feature as brilliantly as Ridley Scott did that one. But then you've got John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, oh my God, the creature designs. And there's a kind of a spider thing in that. Like, the guy's head comes off when the flame goes in, and then little spider legs come out of the head, and then there's a severed head walking around with spider legs, and you're just like, who thinks of this crap? Oh my God.
I hope people listening to this can just get the glee in your voice as you're describing all of this as well. I mean, the grin on your face is just electric.
It's my favourite, Simon, yeah. I love this stuff, you know.
We asked in advance as well if there were any that particularly came to your head.
Yeah.
I think one of the North Stars that you identified was Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth, just in terms of what you can do with creatures and what you can do with a creature feature. Why was that the one that you put forward to us?
Well, it's a thing that I've never got to. Like, all of my prior films I did with my brother, like Roach-Turner Brothers films.
Yeah.
Like, and he and I together are more John Carpenter, more Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, that kind of stuff. But me, just on my own, I think, like, there's a tone that Guillermo del Toro gets, which is very much fairy tale horror. And it's one of my favorite things because it mythologizes something that I love. Like, it's not just kind of scary, crazy B-grade thrills. It's like going, no, this is a story that even in 1,000 years still feels mythological, you know. And I love that he was taking the scariest stuff you could possibly think up and really, really big, horrible themes of war and violence and parsing it through Alice in Wonderland. And I'm just like, that's my favorite tone. And a lot of what I was trying to do with Sting was to try and get some of Guillermo del Toro's fairy tale into it. So I really tried, you know, with archetypes, with the grandmother who's like the fairy godmother, and then the evil stepmother. And then, you know, in comes the exterminator, who would be the classic kind of knight in shining armor, but also maybe he would be the woodsman who comes in, and is he going to help or isn't he? These are all archetypes archetypes that come from a fairy tale. And that's what I was really trying to get to.
Well, I'm going to come back to Sting just in a second. I have things to ask you about that film, not least the fact that you appear to be scared of spiders. But I just want to touch just on one thing with Pan's Labyrinth, because Pan's Labyrinth for me was a film that was kind of like a turning point where some of the snobbishness went out of creature features as well. That I'm not a fan of snobbishness towards films at all.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching a whole load of films that I'm told you're not allowed to like.
Yeah.
And then you watch something like Pan's Labyrinth, and finally, creature features, there was an appreciation in the midst of everything in that film of performance as well. But I'm just wondering about the physicality and the performance in creature features, and just if you're feeling a sense of the erosion of snobbery towards them as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. Like, anytime you make a horror film, like, there's a huge amount of snobbery that comes with it. But there's a few points there that you made that I really like. First of all, Pan's Labyrinth is so good that it's transcendent. Like, it's not a horror film. Yeah. It's just a really good film. And as a horror filmmaker, that's what you want. You want people going, have you seen this film? It's phenomenal. And they're like, well, it's scary. It's like, no. It's just really good. Don't worry about the horror aspect. So if you can transcend your own genre, you know you're doing well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty hard to do. And also the idea of the guy in the suit, Doug Jones, like, one of my favorite things in the world is what human beings can do. You know, that's why I loved what I could get out of people in zombie prosthetics. You know, you just get them to kind of, and suddenly, you know, it's like, oh my God, you just transformed. I love that. But yeah, like, nothing beats a guy in a suit. And it's funny because, you know, with Sting, like, it was puppetry for the first time, and I'm doing this giant shark thing, and that'll be puppetry again. And it's a nightmare. Like, it's so hard to get right. And like, with the thing that I'm developing now, I'm like, I have to get back to a guy in a suit. Of course, it's going to be another creature feature. But to be able to direct a human being inside those prosthetics is so much easier than manipulating a puppet, you know, whether it's made by Weta or not. It's hard to get that right. You know, I think Guillermo is one of the masters of that. And his collaboration with Doug Jones has just been fantastic. Like, you know, you even look at Hellboy and all that kind of stuff. And Shape of Water is a masterpiece of man in suit.
¿Sois vos? ¿Sois vos? ¿Habéis regresado? No os asustéis, os lo ruego. Mirad.
On your own film Sting, I think it's pretty well known that you were driving towards something physical on the set.
Yeah.
That presumably there was an easier way to do this. You could have had a computer running around and adding, well, not the computer running around, but you could have added the graphics in. But you wanted something physical there. Can you talk to me about that? Just the sheer craft that goes into it. I sit and watch your film. I see a spider just walking across the room.
Yeah.
That to me is what, 5 seconds of footage? What is it to you?
Well, it's sort of 50-50 digital practical. So my rule for Sting was anytime you're in a wide shot and you can see the thing moving around, running around on a wall or whatever in a wide, it kind of has to be digital because, I mean, you can't really get a puppet to do that. But anytime you're on a medium or a close-up, it has to be real because horror is a textural medium. You have to believe that the thing is real. So that's why I only show the digital creation for fractions of seconds, or it's hidden behind glass. You get away with a little bit more when it's like the tiny spider, because spiders inherently have an uncanny valley nature to them anyway. You know, they move too quick and they're weird. So you kind of get away with it. But yeah, I wanted the spider to be interactive with the shadows and interactive with the light and the smoke. And sometimes you've got water coming off the exoskeleton in a weird way that is really cool. But more importantly, I've got Robin Nevin like looking at this thing going, why did I sign up for this movie? I'm terrified of this thing. Like, she was honestly, like, she's like, I'm going to have a heart attack. Like, why, you know, and the fear was like just on her face, you know. And when you've got a tennis ball coming at you and people are like, I think the legs are this big, like, you just, you know, you kind of do the fear thing. But if you've got like literally a giant spider with huge legs actually scraping at your face, there's a specificity to your fear and your revulsion. And that's what people are scared of. It's the reaction of the human being in the frame to the thing more than the thing in some way. And so if your reactions are real, then it feels more real for the audience. And also it's more fun, Simon. Like, I didn't get into this to just point a camera at something and go, well, that'll be there at some point. I'm a photographer at heart. I like to shoot things in space, you know? I like to shoot people. And like, if I'm going to do a monster movie, I want to build the monster. Like, I want to see it. And so that's why just working with Weta was like insane. Like, that's like, you know, if you like driving fast cars and you make friends with like Enzo Ferrari, like it's the best.
Yeah.
And like I made friends with Richard Taylor of Weta. And so I got to work with, I mean, that guy's literally a hero of mine. So it was a big moment for me to interact with him creatively, you know.
Don't take this the wrong way. You're petrified of spiders. You said this to us just before.
Yeah, I have proper arachnophobia. Yeah.
And you're making a film about being scared, presumably with spiders on set. I don't think you've gone full William Shatner on Kingdom of the Spiders. What was that, 5,000 tarantulas on set or something like that?
Oh my God.
But still, you're look, the shudder that you just did there was
horrifying,
perfect as well. But you're putting yourself well out of your personal comfort zone to get into the middle of that set. I mean, is that kind of what you're looking for as a filmmaker, the things that take you a million miles away from where you want to be?
Well, as a horror filmmaker, your job is to scare people. And again, to go back to specificity, like if I'm making a film about a thing that I am actually scared of, then all of the setups are based on a real fear. Like my fear and just aggressive revulsion that I have for spiders you know, is something that I can work with. So Sting was weirdly an exercise. Like I was sitting down trying to write the most commercial horror film that I could and working on the template idea that the perfect setup for a horror film. James Wan's producer told me this years ago. He goes, the perfect setup for a horror film, he goes, single location, one family, one monster. Yeah. And he goes, you can't go wrong. He goes, like, we here at Atomic Monster make that film 3 times a year and it always works. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to do single location, you know, may as well stick them in a New York apartment block. I'm going to do one family. I'll just base it on my family because it'll feel realer. And what's the monster going to be? I can't really do demons. I've already done that, you know, and James Wan's got that covered. Ghosts. Oh, everybody's doing ghosts. And I'm just like, what's the thing I'm most afraid of? And like, honestly, and I've been thinking about this for like 20 years, is just the concept of looking up and there's a huntsman the size of a panther just sitting up there. And I think I just die of fright. Like I think about it a lot. Like I don't know why I do it. That image is always, and that image actually ended up being the poster. It's a little girl on her iPhone and there's a giant spider just sitting above her on the ceiling. Like that is my nightmares. And so it's just like, I think it's time. I think that's the ultimate monster for me. So that really was the impetus. It's the thing that would scare me the most. The idea of being dragged into an air conditioning duct and eaten. Like by something with 8 legs. Like I couldn't imagine anything worse, you know? If I like spiders, I'm making a different film. I'm making Free Willy with 8 legs. I don't know.
Now that's a film.
not one I'm going to direct.
That's a film. Get Michael Madsen on the phone. Free Willy with 8 legs. What a pick. So if we're taking like your setup of a family and a house and a creature, I can't now wait to see your giant shark film. It's bringing back memories of how in Deep Blue Sea, I think I remember a shark turning on an oven at one point, which still I'm just like, did that happen? Yeah, that happened. I'm assuming your shark movie isn't going to take place in a house though.
No, but it does.
You're no fun.
But it does. Yeah, but you, I mean, they are doing that. There's 10 shark movies being made at the moment. It's hilarious. Like there's a shark movie now where there's a plane that's sunk and it's got like a bubble of water in it. And there's a shark that's kind of circling around. And at a certain point, it like pushes into the plane and swimming around up and down. And it's just like, yeah, anyway. No, but mine is single location based. It's very much based on the SS Indianapolis speech from Jaws, you know, where he's talking about, you know, he delivered the bomb and, you know, but they were trapped on the thing and the shark's eye is like a doll's eyes, you know, and then I remember old Bobby, you know, I pushed him and he bopped up and down like a top in the water and he'd been bitten in half and you know, like all that stuff when he's doing the pirate impression. So I just basically took that speech and went, I wonder if I could just make a movie based on that. But they're trapped on a raft in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a giant fog bank. So that's almost like being in a big room that's like the floor is water. Yeah. And, you know, they've got to hop from wreckage to debris and find weapons and stuff and bring it back to the raft. So it's the most dangerous game of the floor is lava in history, where they're jumping around, you know, trying to avoid this giant shark that's trying to eat them from below. So it's the perfect setup for a shark film. So it should be fun, you know.
I'm just curious if you can just give us one story, just from the set of Sting, just to get to the heart of just what a challenge it is to make a film like that.
I remember one particular night, and we just went overtime and overtime and overtime. And it was like 2 a.m, you know, so we'd been shooting all day and then we went into overtime. So it was like a 17-hour day. You're not really supposed to do those, but every now and again you just have to do it. And I was hanging around trying to make the special effect work. So it's 2 a.m. I'm in a studio in Artarmon. We've got a stunt guy up on a wire and his head's shoved in an air conditioning duct, and we're trying to blow his head up. And so I'm trying to get the blood to be big, and I keep going, it's his whole head has to explode. And then we go 1, 2, 3, action, and I'm like, it's not big enough, like we need more blood. Like, and we did it I think about 5 times, so we got blood all over the walls and like just nothing's working. And eventually I just went, dude, like how much blood have you got? And he goes, I've got like just 5 buckets of blood. We can do this 5 more times. And I went, no. Take all the 5 buckets of blood and pour it into the thing, and we'll just do one big one. And he goes, dude, the blood is it's gonna drown the whole studio. And I'm like, you got to just do it. And we did this thing, and the blood exploded everywhere. It went all over the camera. It ricocheted off the walls and splashed into my producer's face. And I'm just sitting there giggling like a maniac. We got the shot, and it's in the film. It's one of the best moments in the film. Like, the blood explodes in an incredibly unrealistic way, but the audience just goes...
I'm very familiar with the moment.
The audience loves it. Like, they get up and cheer, and, you know, and it's like, sometimes as a horror filmmaker, those are the moments, you know what I mean? Where you pour all the blood you've got left into one big tube and you just blow it all up, and, you know, it feels like just a tiny little bit. It's like 2% of that elevator scene in The Shining where the doors open, and you're like, oh, let there be blood. And there was blood. That's probably my favourite moment of the whole shoot, you know? That's when I really felt like Sam Raimi, you know what I mean?
Kiah Roache-Turner, did your school have a careers officer? Was there a moment where they sat in front of you and said, what do you want to do? And you said half of that, and they called in help?
Yeah, I want a job where I can blow heads up. The funny thing is, Simon, I think I've exploded a head in every film I've ever made. Like, no crap.
So when you remake A Star Is Born, when you do like the 3rd or 4th remake of that, your version of it will have like just an exploding head, a musical finale. Perfect.
Yeah, Lady Gaga will hit a note so high that Bradley Cooper's head explodes. Yeah, that would be my a star is blown up. Yeah.
So out of this podcast, we're now pitching another take of A Star Is Born and an 8-legged version of Free Willy.
With Michael Madsen reprising the role.
With Michael Madsen. Michael Madsen in both. Kiah Roache-Turner, this has been an absolute delight. Before we let you go, one thing we do ask of our guests is if you can just dig into the STUDIOCANAL catalogue for us and come up with a double bill. Tell us about your double bill.
Yeah, my double bill, they are not connected at all. They're films I want to watch.
Well, that's the connection, isn't it? That's the joy of it.
Yeah, it's They Live in Apocalypse Now, because anytime I can sit down and watch Apocalypse Now on a big screen, you know, I've seen the original, I've seen the Redux, I've seen the Redux of the Redux, like the director's edit, the editor's edit, you know, Walter Murch's version. There's like 15 different versions. I've seen them all on the big screen. I love that film in ways that I can't even express with words. It really is the sort of touchstone for how to make an artistic and yet commercial and just mythologically giant and fun art film. Like, it's just, that's what it is, you know? And They Live because I just think it's probably one of the best brilliantly, bitingly satirical science fiction films ever made. And it's got one of my favourite lines of all time, you know, when Rowdy Roddy Piper comes in the bank and he says, you know, I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm fresh out of bubblegum. You're just like, dude. And he's holding a pump action shotgun, and he's got sunglasses on. And you're just like, this may be the coolest movie ever made.
And what a fight scene as well.
The fight scene, I copied that for my first film I made called Wormwood, which STUDIOCANAL distributed, and STUDIOCANAL helped me have a career, which I'm always very appreciative of. And there's a fight scene in the middle where, you know, like a big beardy guy beats the crap out of like another big beardy guy who's bald. We always wanted to do the riff on the fight scene in the alleyway with Rowdy Roddy Piper and what's the actor's name? Keith David. I think it's Keith David.
Yep.
And they just beat the crap out of each other for about 7 minutes. they're just punching each other like for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I always love that because it's just such big, macho, stupid WWF type fighting, but I just loved it. You know, there's nothing better than two big men hitting each other on screen. It's just good old-fashioned fun, you know.
Kiah Roache-Turner, this has been an absolute delight, and good luck with my funeral speech.
I'm writing it now.
Pan's Labyrinth, They Live, and Apocalypse Now are available on the STUDIOCANAL Presents channel on Prime Video, Apple TV Plus, and ITVX. Sting will be in UK cinemas from the 31st of May 2024. Now it's time for a quick news update from the world of STUDIOCANAL. Fresh from its successful cinema run, the film Back to Black is now available to buy and rent on premium video on demand. Telling the story of Amy Winehouse, the movie, directed by Sam Taylor Johnson, will also be coming to DVD, Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray on the 1st of July 2024. A limited edition 4K Steelbook and a HMV exclusive collector's edition will also be available at the start of July. Later on in July, Francis Ford Coppola's 1974 classic The Conversation makes its 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray debut. The film, celebrating its 50th anniversary, won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. It was also nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars on its original release, losing out to The Godfather Part 2, also from Francis Ford Coppola. The Conversation is a stunning film. It's one of my absolute favourites of the 1970s. The 4K collector's set that's arriving on the 15th of July comes with the film fully restored, as well as a host of extras, a 64-page booklet, original artwork, a cassette soundtrack, and a whole host more. It's available to pre-order now. I'll be back soon with the next episode of STUDIOCANAL Presents. Until the next time, to get all the news on STUDIOCANAL films as it happens, and to find out more about the ITVX, Apple TV and Prime Video channels, you can visit www.studiocanal.co.uk or follow STUDIOCANAL at STUDIOCANAL UK on X, Instagram and TikTok. Until the next time, I'm off to check this place out for spiders. Wish me luck. Ta-ta for now.